Hey, how's it going, everybody? If you're new here, welcome in. And if you've been here before, welcome back. I'm Rollshambo, the connoisseur and collector of all things sharp and shiny. And I've got what is it? Has it been a year? Has it been a full year since the last time I reviewed this knife? This is the Begg Knives Mini Glimpse. And this is a production version, a smaller production version of a once custom knife, the legendary Begg Knives Glimpse. This is the Begg Knives Mini Glimpse, and unlike the original custom that costs thousands of dollars and is essentially unobtainium, this is something that you can currently buy. And if you want to support the channel and you're interested in this knife, you can, of course, check out the link for this in the description down below. I will definitely make sure that it's there. This knife has been in my possession for about a year now, and when I initially got it, I was over the moon about this. I can immediately see why people loved this knife, or even necessarily the original, because it shares the same lines. But I couldn't help but think to myself at that time, gosh, this is such a great EDC knife. We've got G10, we've got D2, and it's not just your regular run-of-the-mill D2. Begg Knives knows a thing or two about making sure that their D2 is heat treated properly and to the highest, most correct Rockwell hardness that you can currently buy. And this has been verified by others in the third-party market, by unbiased parties. Their D2 is pretty much perfection as far as D2 in 2024 is concerned. Now, when I initially did the video for this knife, they only had the version of this out that had the non-usable fuller. It was just an aesthetic fuller. And a lot of people said at that time during that video, man, I just wish that we could get that version, the version that you have, that doesn't have the fuller with the holes. And, you know, in my opinion, it wasn't a big deal. It wasn't a big deal at all. But they did end up releasing this one later last year. And so now you can actually buy this one that is just the full plain blade. I really like this knife. This knife costs $80 or just shy. I think it's like 78, 79 bucks. And what you're getting is a very good attention to detail. It's not just a copycat production model. They really did a nice job on the fit and finish, whether it's the geared backspacer or the ball bearing pocket clip, which some people don't like, but honestly, it slides in and out of the pocket for me really, really well, really easily. I mean, I can't tell you how many pairs of jeans I have where the lip is torn up because of regular pocket clips. You don't have that issue with the ball bearing clip. Begg Knives actually invented that, and they put it on their knife. It's like their signature. The G10 is perfectly contoured. There's absolutely no rough edges, and that's great. Also, we have a crowned spine, which is not something that you see a whole lot on knives outside of Italy, but you see it here. And that crowning follows the swedge, and that's a very deep swedge, so you have plenty of cutting relief. That edge is, man, a year later, it's still sticky. They did a great job on this. It's a slicer. It's a knife that you could honestly use for self-defense. You could use it for your everyday cutting tasks. It's not terribly heavy. It feels like a knife should feel. Begg Knives has a storied history of creating cutting implements that you can feel good about carrying, that have great qualities. And I think that something people just can't get their head around is, oh, it's G10 and D2 and it's 80 bucks. That's actually a pretty damn good deal. I'm looking at knives that are under 100 bucks this year, and I'm trying to think of a knife that is a flipper only knife that has a better flipper action than this. This knife is super fidgety. I say it all the time. If you have one deployment option on your knife, it's got to be the showstopper. And this D10 is tuned perfectly for that reason. I can't really think of too many things that I dislike on this knife. There's one thing, one teensy little thing, and that is that the pocket clip screws are not T8. But here's the deal. It's not a reversible pocket clip, so chances are you're probably not going to be, taking it off anyways. It has this lanyard hole here, but Even the lanyard hole is stylish. The access to that lock bar is stupidly easy, and the action is smooth. It's a very well thought out guillotine. The design aesthetics are one that I really appreciate and continue to appreciate a year later. It's really easy as someone who handles a lot of knives. Like I have nearing 600 videos about knives. I've handled plenty in the last couple of years. And so for me to want to come back to a knife that I checked out a year ago, to give you my thoughts a year later and to see, do I still love this knife? The answer to that question is unequivocally yes. I don't keep around a whole lot of knives that are in D2 and G10, but this is definitely one of them. The design lines, the aesthetic, the weight, the balance, it's all great. And I know that they have a Harbor Freight version of this knife that I believe is a clone of this for like $25. And, it's also D2 and G10, and it's got the same look. And if you don't care about being a knife enthusiast, or if you're not a knife enthusiast and you just want a knife with a good design, then yeah, that might speak to you. But if you buy that instead of this, you'll always be left wondering, is the real deal even better? And I know that some of you are thinking, well, if I buy this, is the real Begg Knives Glimpse, is the custom version even better? Well, of course it is. But for everyone else that doesn't have thousands of dollars or a winning lottery number, this is going to do more than adequately. This is an extremely pleasing knife. Whether it's the design lines, whether it's the pocket clip that works extremely well, whether it's the action, or whether it's just the feeling of a knife that you could tell was built for people who truly enjoy knives. This is definitely one that even a year later, I can still 100% recommend. I wanted to take a moment to give you my unfiltered raw thoughts on this and to just have a check-in for those who might be looking at this a year later, especially now that you can get this version that doesn't have the fuller in the middle, which a lot of people didn't like on the version that was immediately available before this. This has a bi-directional satin finish, which looks gorgeous. That attention to detail is really, really well done. And I find myself enjoying it and finding reasons to carry it instead of some of my more expensive knives. To this day, we still don't know who Begg Knives is using as an OEM. After they trained Riot and we and Riot blew up and became extremely busy, Begg Knives decided they weren't going to disclose that information anymore, and honestly, I can't blame them. But I just want to let you guys know this is 100% a knife that I can still recommend a year later. This is my long-term review on this knife, and if you want to check out the initial reaction, the initial review, I will make sure to link it up above. And if you want to watch more awesome knife and EDC content, feel free to click on one of the videos that pops up next.